I had $12 in my bank account when I discovered the one thing rich people do differently. And no, it's not investing in crypto or starting a side hustle. It's way simpler than that, and it completely changed everything for me in just 18 months. But before I tell you what it is, I need to tell you about the grocery store incident that made me realize I was doing everything backwards. 3 years ago, I was that person refreshing their bank app every morning, hoping somehow more money would magically appear. I'd get paid, feel rich for exactly 48 hours, and then watch it all disappear like water through my fingers. And the worst part? I had no idea where it was even going. But then something clicked. One tiny shift in how I thought about money. And that shift took me from living paycheck to saving over 6 figures. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what changed. And trust me, the real breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. Stay with me, because what I learned from a conversation with a 7-year-old completely flipped everything I thought I knew about money. Let me paint you a picture. October 2021. I'm sitting in my car outside a grocery store, adding up items in my calculator app because I'm terrified my card will decline at checkout. I'm 26 years old. I have a decent job. I'm not spending money on anything crazy. No designer clothes, no expensive vacations, nothing like that. So where was all my money going? Here's what my life looked like back then. I'd get my paycheck on Friday. By Friday night, I'd already spent money on dinner because, hey, I just got paid. I deserve to treat myself, right? Saturday, I'd buy a few things I'd been wanting. Nothing huge, just stuff here and there. By Monday, I'd check my account, and somehow half my paycheck was already gone. Then the bills would hit. Rent, phone, utilities, car payment, insurance, subscriptions I forgot I even had. And just like that, I'd be right back where I started, counting down the days until the next paycheck. The thing that really got to me was watching other people my age buying houses, going on trips, talking about their investment portfolios. And I'm over here doing mental math to see if I can afford guacamole on my burrito. I felt like I was doing something fundamentally wrong, but I had no idea what it was. I tried everything. I downloaded budgeting apps. I made spreadsheets. I promised myself I'd cut back on spending. And you know what happened? I'd stick with it for maybe a week, 2 weeks max, and then I'd slip right back into the same patterns. It was like being stuck on a treadmill, running as fast as I could, but never actually getting anywhere. The breaking point came when my best friend asked me to be in her wedding. Destination wedding. I wanted to say yes so badly, but I couldn't. I literally could not afford a plane ticket. I had to tell her no over the phone, and I remember sitting there after we hung up, just staring at the wall, feeling like the biggest failure in the world. Here's what I didn't know at that moment though. That rejection, that rock bottom feeling, was about to lead me to a conversation that would change my entire financial life. And the person who taught me the most important money lesson wasn't a financial advisor or some rich mentor. Keep watching, because this is where things get interesting. So I started digging into this. I mean, really digging. I read every book I could find about money. I watched hundreds of videos. I talked to people who were actually good with money, not just people who acted like they were. And slowly, I started noticing a pattern. Everyone who was good with money had this one thing in common. It wasn't that they made more money than me. Some of them actually made less. It wasn't that they were smarter or more disciplined or had some special knowledge. It was something completely different. They saw money as something they controlled, not something that controlled them. I know that sounds super basic, but stay with me, because this is where it gets interesting. When I looked at my own relationship with money, I realized I had been thinking about it all wrong. I thought of money as this thing that came into my life and then left, and I was just along for the ride. I'd get paid, money would come in, then bills would happen, expenses would pop up, and money would go out. I was just a middleman. I had no agency in the process. Here's the thing though, I understood this concept intellectually, but I couldn't figure out how to actually apply it. That's when the unexpected happened. I was at a family barbecue, sitting on the porch, still feeling pretty down about the whole wedding situation. My cousin's daughter, Emma, who was 7 at the time, came up to me with her little piggy bank. She was so excited. She said, "Look how much I saved." I opened it up, and there were like $30 in there, mostly ones and quarters. And I did what adults do. I said, "That's great, sweetie. Very nice." But she could tell I wasn't really paying attention. So she sat down next to me and said, "Do you want to know my secret?" And I was like, "Sure. What's your secret?" She said, "Every time I get money, I put half in my piggy bank first, before I buy anything. Even if I really, really want something, half goes in the piggy bank first. Then I can spend the rest." And I just sat there. This 7-year-old had figured out what I'd been struggling with for years. She wasn't saving what was left over. She was saving first, then spending what was left. It was so simple, so obvious. But I had never done it. Not once in my entire adult life. That conversation stuck with me. But here's what I'm not telling you yet. There was one more piece to this puzzle that made everything click into place. And it came from observing something completely unrelated to money. I'll tell you what that was in a minute. But first, let me explain what happened when I actually tried to put Emma's advice into practice. I decided to try it. And I started small. Really small. I'm talking $20 per paycheck. That's it. $10 per week. I set up an automatic transfer. Every time I got paid, $20 would automatically move to a separate savings account before I even saw it. And something weird happened. I didn't miss it. Like at all. $20 per paycheck is basically nothing. It's 2 coffees. It's 1 streaming service. But here's what that $20 did for my brain. It proved to me that I could save money. It proved that I wasn't destined to be broke forever. It proved that I had control. After a month of this, I had about $40 saved. Not life-changing money. But it was the first time in my adult life I had money in savings that I put there on purpose. And that feeling was addicting. So the next month, I bumped it up. $30 per paycheck, then $50, then $100. And each time I increased it, I'd panic for a second thinking, there's no way I can afford this. But then something amazing would happen. I'd adjust. I'd find ways to make it work. I'd skip things I didn't actually need. I'd get creative with meals. I'd say no to things that before I would have said yes to without thinking. The crazy part is, my income didn't change at all during this time. I wasn't making more money. I was just directing the money I already had differently. And the more I saved, the more I wanted to save. It became a game. How much could I put away this month? What could I cut that I wouldn't even miss? Now here's where that other observation comes in. The one that made everything click. I was at the gym one day, watching someone fill up their water bottle. They'd fill it up first thing when they got there, and then they'd drink from it throughout their workout. It hit me like a truck. They weren't working out and then seeing if they were thirsty enough to get water. They were hydrating first, making it a priority, and then doing everything else. That's when I understood it. Not just intellectually, but deeply. Think about it like this. Your money is like a garden. Most people water the weeds first. They spend on whatever catches their attention, whatever feels urgent, whatever gives them a quick hit of satisfaction. The weeds grow like crazy. Then at the end, if there's any water left, maybe they give a little bit to the actual plants they want to grow. But there's never enough left. The weeds took it all. But what if you flipped it? What if you watered your real plants first? Your savings, your future, your financial security. You give those the best water, the most water, the first water. And then whatever's left over, sure, the weeds can have that. And here's the magic. The weeds don't actually need that much water to survive. They'll make do with whatever's left. And your real plants, they'll flourish. That's the mindset shift. You're not depriving yourself. You're choosing which. Plants in your garden get the good water first. And once I saw it that way, I couldn't unsee it. But what happened next surprised me even more. And it reveals the real reason most people never escape being broke. Stay with me. About 6 months into this, I had about $3,000 saved up. And my car broke down. Before, This would have been a complete disaster. I would have had to put it on a credit card, go into debt, spend months stressed about paying it off. But this time, I had the money, I paid for the repair in cash, and I still had money left in savings. That moment changed everything for me, because for the first time, I understood what money was actually for. Money isn't for spending on random stuff that makes you feel good for 5 minutes. Money is for freedom. Money is for not panicking when life happens. Money is for having options. Money is for peace of mind. Once I felt that, I couldn't go back. I started looking at every purchase through this new lens. Before I'd buy something, I'd ask myself, do I want this thing or do I want freedom? Do I want this temporary pleasure or do I want peace of mind? And most of the time, when I framed it that way, the answer was obvious. But here's where I need to be really honest with you about something I haven't mentioned yet. Something that almost derailed everything. Around month 8, I went through what I call the rebellion phase. I had about $8,000 saved, and I was tired. Tired of saying no. Tired of watching my friends go out while I stayed home. Tired of being the broke one, even though technically I wasn't broke anymore. I had more money saved than I'd ever had in my life, but I felt broke because I wasn't spending it. One night, I came this close to just blowing it all. I had my debit card out. I was on a website about to book a vacation I couldn't afford. Not with the money I had saved. I could afford it, but I couldn't afford it and keep my financial goals on track. My finger was hovering over the button, and I had this thought, this is stupid. What am I even saving for? Why am I depriving myself? And here's what I realized in that moment. I wasn't saving for something. I was saving from something. I was saving from that feeling of panic when my card might decline. I was saving from having to say no to my best friend's wedding. I was saving from that anxiety that woke me up at 3 a.m. I was saving from being powerless. Once I understood that, the temptation disappeared. I wasn't giving up a vacation. I was choosing freedom over fear. And that reframe saved me. But it also taught me something crucial about this whole process that I'm about to share with you, because this is the part that determines whether you'll actually succeed or just become another person who tries and fails. I stopped viewing saving money as something I had to do and started viewing it as something I got to do. I wasn't depriving myself. I was giving myself the gift of future freedom. Every dollar I saved was a vote for the life I actually wanted, not just the life I was defaulting into. Around the 1-year mark, I had about $15,000 saved. I remember looking at that number and just sitting there in shock. A year ago, I had $12. Now I had $15,000. Same job, same income, completely different life. But I didn't stop there, because by this point, saving had become automatic. It wasn't hard anymore. It was just what I did. I'd get paid, money would move to savings, and I'd live on the rest. Simple as that. No drama, no stress, no end of the month panic. I started optimizing other areas too. I called my insurance company and got my rate lowered. I cancelled subscriptions I never used. I switched to a cheaper phone plan. I started meal prepping instead of eating out 5 times a week. None of these things were huge on their own, but together, they added up to hundreds of dollars a month. And here's something nobody tells you about saving money. The more you save, the easier it gets, because when you have money saved, you make better decisions. You don't take the first job offer you get because you're desperate. You don't stay in situations that are bad for you because you can't afford to leave. You don't spend money on stupid stuff because you're stressed and looking for a quick hit of happiness. Having money saved gives you clarity. It gives you space to think. It gives you the ability to be intentional about your life instead of just reactive. By 18 months, I crossed 6 figures in savings. And I need you to understand something. I didn't get a massive raise. I didn't inherit money. I didn't start some wildly successful business. I just changed how I thought about money. That's it. But the moment I hit that number, something unexpected happened that made me question whether I'd been doing this all wrong. Let me explain. The real turning point wasn't hitting a certain number in my savings account. It was the day I realized I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't checking my bank account with anxiety. I wasn't losing sleep over money. I wasn't avoiding looking at my bills. For the first time in my adult life, I felt secure, and that feeling is worth more than anything I could have bought with that money. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. When I hit 6 figures, I didn't feel the way I thought I would. I thought I'd feel accomplished, proud, successful, and I did feel those things. But I also felt something else. Grief. I felt grief for all the years I wasted being stressed about money when the solution was this simple. I felt grief for my younger self who thought he was bad with money, when really he just didn't know this one thing. I felt grief for all the opportunities I missed, all the experiences I said no to, all the anxiety I put myself through because I didn't understand that money was something I could control. And that grief turned into something powerful. It turned into purpose. Because if I could go from $12 to 6 figures just by changing how I thought about money, then anyone could. That's not arrogance, that's just math. I'm not special. I'm not smarter than you. I just figured this out before you did. And now you're figuring it out too. Here's what I want you to understand. You can be the person who's always broke, always stressed, always one emergency away from disaster. Or you can be the person who has options, who has security, who has freedom. And the only difference between those two people is a decision. One simple decision to prioritize your future over your present. The mindset switch isn't complicated. It's not some advanced financial strategy. It's just this. Stop seeing money as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something you control. Stop treating saving as optional and start treating it as essential. Stop spending first and saving whatever's left and start saving first and spending whatever's left. That's it. That's the whole secret. Everything else is just details. Water your plants first. Let the weeds survive on whatever's left. Your garden will transform. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. Changing your mindset about anything is hard. And money is especially hard because we have so many emotions tied up in it. Fear, shame, pride, hope. It's all tangled together. But it's also not as hard as you think. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to save thousands of dollars a month. You just have to start. Even if it's $10, even if it's $5. The amount doesn't matter at the beginning. The habit matters. Start small. Build the muscle. Prove to yourself that you can do this. And then watch as everything else starts to fall into place. Your stress will go down. Your confidence will go up. Your options will expand. Your life will change. 3 years ago, I was broke, scared, and stuck. Today, I have 6 figures saved, 0 debt, and complete peace of mind about my financial future. Same person. Same starting point most of you are at right now. The only difference is I made one decision and stuck with it. You can do the exact same thing. Starting today. Starting right now. You just have to decide that your future is more important than your present comfort. And then you have to act on that decision every single day. $1 at a time. Remember, you're not depriving yourself. You're watering your real plants first. You're choosing freedom over fear. You're voting for the life you actually want. And that 7-year-old with the piggy bank, she had it right all along. Save first. Spend what's left. It's that simple. It's always been that simple. Hit subscribe if you want more real talk about money.